So again, thanks for joining us. What we think is a timely and important topic for the United States Army and for the nation. And with that, if you would, please join me in welcoming the Commanding General of the United States Army Cyber Command, Lieutenant General Paul Nakasone.
So, ladies and gentlemen, good morning and welcome. It is so good to see so many of you. We are on our last journey here on Hot Topics. I've had a number of them over the past year, and I think this is a great way to end today. So before I begin today, let me offer some thanks. I'd like to echo General Ham's comments in terms of thanks to a number of people, a number of different organizations that have worked hard to put today together. So certainly, Generals, thank you very much for everything that you have done to shape today. I would tell you that we are looking forward to a great day and a number of different important discussions. I would also say in general, thank you to the association, and this has been just a tremendous learning experience for us. So much of what you do, not only for these hot topics, but on a daily basis, contributes to what is the most important thing to us, and that is maintaining our profession. So thank you very much to AUSA. So today, I would tell you that Hot Topics gatherings are a great opportunity for us to bring together a number of different people to share ideas, to bring together new solutions, and to even crowdsource some opportunities and challenges out there that we have. And the one thing that I would like to point out today is really what we think is the most important capability in cyberspace, the one advantage that our nation has, and that's the American soldier. So can we please roll the video?
I can shut down your power grids. I can paralyze your infrastructure. I can access the personal data of everyone in America. I am the enemy with no face, and I can't be stopped.
For every would-be cyber attack, there's a team of U.S. Army cyber warriors who will not be defeated. Find out more at goarmy.com/team.
So let me explain a little bit about the commercial, because we've had a lot of positive feedback from this commercial. The commercial runs for about 30 seconds, but there's a story behind it that I would like to tell. And that story behind it is that about 4 months ago, we partnered with the Army Marketing and Research Group. And for the past 4 months, we developed a script. In September, we sent some of our soldiers actually to Hollywood to film the commercial. But there's more to the story than that, because we wanted to not only create a commercial that would run on 40 different channels, have a broad outreach to the young people of America, but we also wanted to present some breadcrumbs and some ideas and some attraction to some of that talent out there that we know have a passion to working in cyberspace. So if you were looking at the actual commercial and you pulled it up online and you looked very carefully at the last screen, you may have seen the yellow text in the bottom. It goes very, very quickly. But if you follow the yellow text and you take a look at the ensuing screens, there are also some other clues in there that will eventually lead you to a website. And that website has a number of different control panels there that we want to entice someone to actually get to the final website, which offers a cipher that we want people to solve. So, how many people have viewed this commercial to date? It has been seen on Twitter, Facebook, YouTube over 75,000 times. It's been picked up by bloggers. We've had total site hits of over 37,000. And oh, by the way, we've had 11,000 people try to solve that cipher. And guess what? 71 actually have. And when they have, they get that message. Congratulations. We want you to be part of our team. That's the attraction that we're trying to appeal to General Ham's point in terms of how do you actually attract, train, retain quality talent. It begins with ideas like this that are spawned by young people within our command. Worked with the Army staff, worked with outside organizations, and presented on this in this venue. It's a marvelous technique. It's one that we're going to explore in the future, but it's one idea that germinates from our young people. So today, let me just talk a little bit about where we have been in terms of the Army, the overall Army's journey in cyberspace, because the commercial in 2017, fiscal year 2017, this first month of the new FY, comes at a great time because it's after a tremendous 2016. And many of you have found and followed the results of what the Army has done in cyberspace, But let me capture a few important ideas that I think are relevant to our discussions today. So if you take a look at the momentum in cyberspace today, I would begin with take a look at what we've been able to do operationally. Cyber Mission Force, 41 different teams, part of the overall nation's force of 133 teams, the first service that's able to build, to train, and employ those teams. Oh, by the way, on the operational side, I would also offer that the command that has been stood up under Admiral Rogers, Joint Task Force Ares that deals with counter-ISIL operations in northern Iraq and Syria, is under the command of Army Cyber as a joint task force. I would talk to you about the network modifications, the modernization that's ongoing today, worked in partnership with CIO G6, the discussion point that we had this summer, how important our network is to the future viability of our weapons systems, this weapons platform, all done over the past year. Institutionally, great progress. The Cyber Center of Excellence at Fort Gordon graduated its first class of 21 lieutenants. Bright-eyed and bushy-tailed. It makes me feel old as I talk to them, but I would tell you that as we take a look at the future, that is our future. Also institutionally, I would offer the Army Cyber Institute at the United States Military Academy. Their outreach programs to industry, critical to what we do, critical to what we can do in the future. As we take a look at the future fight, the combat training centers now have been infused on 5 separate occasions with cyber support to Corps and below. This is to General Ham's point about how do we bring this cyber element, this information operations element, this electronic warfare element to those that need it most at the tip of the spear. As we take a look at the total Army, 21 different cyber protection teams across the National Guard and the Army Reserve, bought and paid for by our Army. Now we're getting ready to train that force in the new FY. We also have one National Guard cyber protection team that has been activated and is working every single day in concert with all of us at Army Cyber. But as we take a look at being postured for the future fight, I think this is where the Army really has excelled. Take a look at what we're doing at a place like Fort Gordon, where we're bringing together not only our Cyber Center of Excellence, but the ongoing importance of what is being done as a power projection platform with the movement of our headquarters, Army Cyber and 2nd Army, to Fort Gordon in the 2019-2020 timeframe. This will make Fort Gordon an epicenter for what our nation does in cyberspace. The Army has done this thoughtfully, it has done this purposefully, and I would tell you that in the coming 5 years, we'll have tremendous benefits from the ideas, from the decisions that have been made by leaders before us. I would also offer, and just in terms of our own look in Army Cyber, being elevated to an Army Service Component Command is tremendously important for us as we take a look at how we can better support the Joint and Army warfighters in this critical domain. Finally, let me talk a little bit about where I see the future in terms of Army Cyber. There are 3 priorities that we've laid out for the command. The first priority is that we're going to aggressively defend our networks, our data, and our weapons systems. Nothing more important. The first priority of the Secretary of Defense, the Secretary of the Army, and certainly ourselves. Secondly, we have to be able to deliver effects against our adversaries. These effects, whether they come defensively or offensively, are critical for what we offer to our nation. And then finally, we are in charge of designing, build, and delivering integrated capabilities for the future fight. Think about what we're doing at the combat training centers. Think about what we need to do at Fort Gordon. Think about what we are going to do in the future based upon the advertisement, the recruitment, the ability to bring in talent that we're doing today. So ladies and gentlemen, those are our priorities. That is what the Army has been able to do in 2016. And as we look at our discussions today, I think the 3 panels really set up a number of those points as we move into the future. So on behalf of all of us at Army Cyber and 2nd Army, thank you very much for coming today. We look forward to your participation throughout a great day and look forward to taking any questions this morning if you have any. I'll take the first question. We'll move on to the second question.
Sir, good morning, and congratulations on the new assignment. My name is Marcus Bertrand with Raytheon. One quick question, that is, we believe that roughly about 400,000 cyber professionals are needed on an annual basis. So with the number of 400,000, that we believe that both industry as well as in DOD, with that number growing probably by double digits each year, how does DOD plan to attack that figure of getting, again, those cyber professionals into the force and keeping them?
Yeah, so I would offer that that number is probably low as we take a look to the future. I think that's a starting point, but we realize that there is a population out there that our nation has to grow collectively. And where I would speak from the Army and Army Cyber's focus, our focus is a broad-based focus to take a look at not only what we do with industry, not only what we're doing within the department, but also what we're going to do with academia. A number of representatives here from academia. That's not only academia in terms of what we need to do with the colleges and universities in our nation, but I would tell you it goes down to where are we going to enhance science, technology, engineering, and mathematics programs within the broader nation. This is what we have to do. We have to make it attractive to our young people. We have to offer the opportunities. So such programs that we've had in the past as Troops to Teachers, such initiatives that a number of the units have done with the local communities to look at STEM opportunities are critically important, I think, in terms of growing this base. And this is a base that has to grow across the entire nation, not in one particular spot, not in one particular gender, but this is something I would tell you that is critical for how our nation develops and grows, not only for our national security, but also for our economy. So thanks for your question.
Hi, General Sidney Friedberg from Breaking Defense. We talk a lot about enterprise cyber and strategic stuff and intel stuff. Especially in context of the new multi-domain concept, emphasis on cross-domain, how are we progressing on the tactical and operational level of cyber?
Yeah, so I think this is, coming back to offer an analogy in history is General Ham talked about Admiral King today. You'll recall that in the 30s, a number of the admirals and generals were looking at how they were going to position the nation in terms of militarily to fight the next war. I think we're doing that today. If you take a look and you look back at the different elements that we've done with regards to the combat training centers on 5 different rotations, different elements, different capabilities that we brought to it. We're going to have a panel, the second panel today, that actually talks about that. I think that's leading the way. But I would also say that it's broader than that as we take a look at where we're going to be in the Army warfighting experiment of the future, what we've done in the NIEs that to date, and what we're doing continuing with the War College to take a look at these different opportunities. There are a number of different ways that we're looking at the future today. A number of them are playing out on the ground, a number of them that are being academically developed, and a number that are engagements that occur on a daily basis. So thanks for your question.
Morning, Sue Myers from Mantech. I wanted to ask you if you could talk a little bit further about what we're doing jointly and internationally to collaborate in the cyber field.
So jointly, obviously, our focus is on the build and employment of the teams that fall under Admiral Rogers and U.S. Strategic Command. Those are 41 Army teams across both offensive and defensive capabilities. As I mentioned this morning, First Service that was able to actually build and train and employ those teams. It's appropriate now as we take a look at that joint effort. How do those teams support combatant commanders? How do those teams support the nation? I would tell you that we move from a build phase to an employee phase. That means that no longer are we looking at actually counting the build, but how do we measure readiness? So appropriate for the topic today. That has been our focus to date. Internationally, I think internationally our efforts start with not only the work that we're doing with the coalition that's fighting ISIL today, but it's also broadly looking at what we're doing with NATO and the partnerships that have been going on there for decades. So we have done an enormous amount of work on both ends to develop those partnerships. So internationally, we have begun with that. So thank you for your question.
Hi, Paul. Good morning. Scott Wallace. How would you answer those critics who say that our networks are so vulnerable and so hard to protect that they're not worthy of large investment, and that money, given fiscal constraints, ought best be invested in things like mobile protected firepower and platforms that are more reliable?
So I'd begin with the answer that there's nothing more important for the success of our weapon systems and the ability for us to do operations and intelligence fusion than getting our network resilient and ensuring that our network can operate. I think there have been a number of ways that we've looked at the network in terms of modernizing it. These modernization efforts, if you take a look at what we've done in terms of the campus area networks and improving them, or the movement to Windows 10, or even the endpoint accesses that we're starting to develop in field, are critical for, I think, building a resiliency. Let's be perfectly honest. There's no network that's invulnerable, but we have to build a network that is resilient enough that there is a cost to the adversary that he will not try to come into the network, or if he does try to come in the network, he's readily exposed and is able to be dealt with. I think in terms of, as I look at the future, building that resilient network is the most important thing that we have to do in the near term. I'll take one more question, if that's all right.
Morning, sir. Jeff Little from Raytheon. Could you describe how the Army is going to approach assessing and mitigating threats to weapons platforms?
Yeah, so the Army has begun already taking a look at assessing and mitigating risks to our weapons platform. That has been begun with a program that has originated out of the Department of Army G3 staff. We are looking at a series of platforms today. Those platforms have been assessed based upon their importance to our national security. We are starting to take a look now at doing vulnerability analysis on those platforms, and then from there, what are the key terrain, or what is the key terrain perhaps on those platforms, and then taking a look at how do we make sure that we monitor, mitigate, and address that key terrain if it comes under assault. So that's broadly where we're headed with that, and I think we're off to a good start on that. So, ladies and gentlemen, again, let me thank you for attending today. We'll look forward to a great day of hot topics in cyber.